Thank you, Mosin, for the warm intro. Hey everyone, I'm Kushal. I'm a solutions engineer at Labelbox, and today I will be talking about how Labelbox helps companies in the medical and healthcare domains solve critical business problems using AI in medical imaging. So first things first, what is Labelbox? I know we have a few people from Genentech in the crowd today, so many of you have probably heard of us. Some of you have used us. For those of you who haven't, Labelbox is a software company. And specifically, we are a software platform for building and deploying intelligent applications. And all that's really saying is that if you are a team or an individual that's working with unstructured data, so whether that's images of CT scans, of MRIs, videos of surgical procedures in operating rooms, DICOM data, maybe documents of clinical or trial data, any of these modalities that are inherently unstructured in nature, the argument is that Labelbox should be a part of your overall, if not daily workflows. And really what makes Labelbox a platform company to begin with is the fact that if you were to ask any of our customers what is the main value they're able to extract from Labelbox, they would all share their own different reasons. Obviously, labeling is in our name, so that's a very predominant theme in terms of value that's extracted, whether that's on the automated labeling side, the human labeling side, or a combination of both. But there are a lot of teams out there that find value simply in being able to consolidate and bring in all of their data from disparate source systems, whether you have images stored, let's say, in Snowflake or Databricks, or S3 or Azure. The sort of data aggregation and consolidation layer is a key value proposition for a lot of teams. On top of that, there's the ability to explore, curate, and do visual analysis of your data. And then there's the on-demand labeling services that we offer as part of Boost Workforce that you see on the left, and our end-to-end solution engagements where we'll come in, understand your business use case, and solve an end-to-end problem from scratch. And we have some key use cases we've done in the past, which we'll walk into. For the companies that rely on us for specifically manual labeling, we have labelers that are specialized in the medical fields. These are a few of the specialties that we support, from radiologists, surgeons, ophthalmologists, and it's really up to you guys and the customers to decide how you want to curate and develop and work with these teams. We've seen customers use a purely expert-based approach where they'll only rely on experts to do the labeling and the reviewing. But we've also seen teams take a hybrid-based approach where they'll start with a group of experts, they'll train a group of non-experts to go along with the labeling and the reviewing. And this really streamlines and expedites the entire end-to-end training data preparation process. So that's really up to our teams to decide. And like I mentioned, we have expertise along these different axes, but if you also wanted to specify off language or off geography, you're able to do that as well. Labelbox is also very heavily partnered with the leading research and education institutions for AI and medical research. You can see a few of the names over here. So if you're in research and academia, please reach out and we'll be very happy to work with you and support your use cases. So these are a few of the use cases that we've solved in the past with customers, from drug discovery, medical imaging. This is, we'll see a short demo for this very shortly. Surgical assistance with Intuitive Surgical, and health monitoring. This last one is actually particularly resonant and inspirational, just because the founder of the company that was working with us for solving this problem had a very close to home story that motivated him to work in the space. And the problem they were trying to solve was around being able to detect and prevent patients from falling in hospital rooms. The idea being that this could lead to bodily harm, and even have people pass away, hundreds of thousands of people pass away every year because of not being able to predict these sorts of falls from before. So quick overview of their solution. They placed these sensors in these rooms, and the sensors were had machine learning models that were deployed to them, and the models themselves were trained to detect movements within the patients to be able to predict with a lead time of 1 to 2 minutes prior to the patient falling and hurting themselves. And in this use case, 1 to 2 minutes is a matter of life and death. And so we were, the team was able to use Labelbox to generate all of the training data that was powering these models that were deployed on these sensors. They use a combination of model-assisted labeling as well as human labelers to join forces and come up with a very streamlined approach to generate training data. The impact of this is they were able to see a reduction in the false positive rate from 30% to 6%. And they had so much success, they actually expanded to other use cases, such as ulcer prevention as well. Intuitive Surgical is one of our spotlight customers in the space. Many of you have probably heard of them as a pioneer in the robotics-assisted surgery space with their Da Vinci system. They were actually able to use Labelbox to stream video data of surgical procedures that were happening in the operational rooms. So you can imagine, these procedures, you can only generate the data once the procedure is happening. And so by streaming all that video data into Labelbox, they were able to have a system where they have domain experts and labelers come together using model-assisted labeling to double the speed at which they could deliver labeled data sets for their supervised ML models that were underpinning Da Vinci. And with Genentech, this was just a very awesome use case because it showed how you can achieve more with less. Genentech had a team. They started off with a team of experts, subject matter experts. They then trained a team of non-experts on the Labelbox platform to produce label data that was 10 times cheaper, 5 times faster, and with better quality. And these are a few of the tasks that were successfully completed using this paradigm and approach, from fetal ultrasound segmentation, optical coherence tomography, surgical videos, and epidermis imagery. So a lot of the use cases we've seen so far are very bread and butter when it comes to computer vision. But with the advent of LLMs, what we're seeing is a lot of conversational and text-based use cases coming up as well. And so one very prominent use case that we're seeing come up a lot is this idea of protocol digitization. And the idea here is that how can we take a very dense and verbose clinical trial protocol, for example, Crohn's disease? How do we get an LLM to reason about what the inclusion and exclusion criteria for Crohn's disease is, bridge that with a patient's EMR or EHR data to be able to then figure out whether that patient or that that person meets the protocol or the criteria for that clinical trial? Right now, that process is very, very long. It can take weeks, spread across multiple labelers, spread across multiple subject matter experts. The reasoning for which is, some of these clinical trials can be very long and very verbose. And so what Labelbox is doing is working with customers using LLMs to help solve this use case and make it very more streamlined and a lot more efficient. And what I'd like to wrap with is an end-to-end demo of our product in action. This is going to be for AI-powered medical imaging, starting with a data set of histopathology images. We'll see how you can prepare that data, do curation, label that data, and ultimately train a model using that data. So without further ado, here is the demo.
Hi there. In this short video, we'll be looking at how we can leverage the Labelbox platform for the purpose of building a computer vision capability to segment pathology tissue samples and identify the presence of relevant nuclei. Such a capability in practice can be used to assist in automatically detecting diseases such as cancer. Having rendered our data in Labelbox, the first thing we'll want to do is to leverage the catalog filters available to us to curate a relevant subset of our data. As you can see on the screen in front of us, there's various filters available from the media type that we're interested in through to natural language search, or in this example, we can filter based on metadata that was uploaded alongside each data row to identify those tissue samples relating to the colon organ. Having identified a useful subset of our data, we can go ahead and create an annotate project and include a relevant ontology. In our case, the ontology consists of 5 different nucleotypes that we're interested in annotating. We've batched 1,000 data rows to our annotate project. Having initiated this, we're in a position to step in and begin to label. Once within an annotate project, the label will be faced with the raw image on the right-hand side, as well as seeing the relevant ontology attached on the left. They can begin to go through and annotate the nuclei as required. In this case, we can also leverage inbuilt auto-segmentation capabilities within the editor to simply hover over nuclei of interest and annotate those. In addition, we can use keyboard shortcuts to toggle between various nuclei types and accelerate the overall annotation process. Once the data row has been appropriately annotated, they can go ahead and submit this and move on to the next. Once all of our data rows have been appropriately annotated by our labelers and have gone through the subsequent review process, we're in a position to generate what we at Labelbox refer to as a model experiment. Model experiment allows us to pass our annotated data rows to create train, validate, and test splits, as well as observe all of our ground truth annotations as you can see in front of us. We're now in a position to leverage the Python API to extract these into our compute environment and custom train our own model. After we've fine-tuned our own custom model, we can run inference on our relevant data rows and upload the predictions back into Labelbox experiment in order to compare against the ground truth. As we can see here in this case, we have our ground truth annotations in yellow and our predictions in purple. In addition, we can step into the metrics view to understand at a deep dive level how our model is performing. In addition, we can step into edge cases such as false negatives, filtering to these to understand what may be causing this, and if of interest, we can begin to surface similar data rows by leveraging our similarity search. Similarity search makes use of vector embeddings that are generated for each data row, and we can change the overall threshold to begin to narrow down to a relevant subset of data that we may be interested in annotating in a second batch in order to improve feedback for our model performance. To accelerate the second round of annotation, we may be interested in leveraging our custom model in order to generate pre-labels which can subsequently be passed to our labelers for refinement or validation. We can do this all within Labelbox by deploying our custom model under our Foundry product. Foundry allows you to access model inference from within the Labelbox platform through the Foundry UI, as you can see here. We can generate previews, tweaking certain hyperparameters as relevant, and once comfortable, we can go ahead and submit as a full model run. Once our model run is complete, we can subsequently batch the relevant data rows to our annotate project, this time including these pre-labels as we can see in front of us. Now a labeler will be faced with the data row annotated in advance, which they can simply validate. Or, if required, a labeler can go ahead and tweak the data row as necessary before submitting for review. Hopefully this gives you an idea for how you can leverage Labelbox to support in creating cutting-edge capabilities across the healthcare domain. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, so that's all I had for you guys. We'll be around after the presentation, so if you guys wanted to chat with us, please feel free to share your use cases. We'd be happy to work with you. Thank you.